Hello, everybody. My name is Stephanie. This is part two of family autism, family that doesn't understand. It's part two. And like I was saying in the last video, we now are into another argument with a family member because they accused us of keeping our son away from them. And that person that we got in an argument with is in the message referring to them as like all of us. You are keeping your son from all of us. It's like we all have been hurt. So the person speaking in the message was portraying that everybody in that family, of his family, felt that way. And it ended up, he said he had sent an article through just to pass on to the family. Maybe it would be good information, he thought, to help understand, I guess, or just to share, you know, article about how hard it is, but it was taken the wrong way, and now we are in an argument, and that person now has deleted me and him, but left our son on, and we're gonna take him off from being friends because we don't believe that it should be like that, where you're only friends with the son and not the parents. There's been some issues in my family to where they worked through the kid to get to us, and it caused our autistic son a lot of stress and fear and confusion when that happened. So we're going to not make that mistake again. I don't know how this could be fixed with the family. I went a lot with my family through this, and now it's his. I don't know how it can be fixed if the people won't forgive us, I guess, or understand why we had to do what we had to do. We didn't keep away our autistic son on purpose from the family. What I wish they would understand is that, like I was saying in the last video, every day is hard. It really is. And if it's not hard with the kid, it's hard because of your work schedule or the phone calls you have to make due to Medicaid, Social Security, or also being poor. We're poor. We're very low income. The struggles of each day of getting food or, surviving or making choices of how to get the kid to eat at home more, say, he got into the pattern of eating pizza or something out to eat or fries because when he was really young, that's all he would eat. He was a really picky eater where he only had like 5 foods he would eat. It was like French fries, popcorn, the Circle Hi-Hos, crackers, apple juice. He always had a problem with allergies with foods. Never ate cereal as a kid, the baby cereal. Never ate real cereal as you get older. Never eats eggs. Only could be like white cheese, but he'll do orange cheese on a grilled cheese. But, it's all these picky things. So, and he never ate meat until he was 10 years old. Not even a hot dog or nothing. I mean, a couple times when he was little, he did have a few bites, but he would puke. He would get sick. So, I mean, there's just been so many issues since then. But we got into bad habits of taking him out to get him French fries. And also what we would do is if we had to go into a grocery store, which that's another subject I want to cover, we couldn't. But what we would do is go to the Myers. We could only go to one store, Meijer, and we'd have to go to the food section to get him French fries in order to get him to go through the store real quick, as fast as you could, to get a couple things you needed. So you can never shop all at once, and you can't really sit and look at a list or anything because what would happen, he would take off in the store. You'd have to have 2 people, and I couldn't because he was working nights. Or he couldn't because I was working. So, and we tried respite and all this, but that's another story. But anyway, I wanted the family to understand that we didn't do this on purpose. And he wrote to that family member, we didn't willfully do this and that, and, wished you could understand that. But in the message, it was all, you kept him from us, your choices. It can't be fixed. We can't go back. So the future just doesn't look too great. We only get to see him once a year, but see, it wasn't like that until these past few years when we used to go to Easter, Christmas, Thanksgiving, anything we could, but then we couldn't always make it because these places were like real far out, and our son with driving in the car or what. By the time we would drive there, we'd have to turn around and come back because he doesn't do well in the car, long distances. He doesn't. By the time he gets there, there's been so many times where we would go to Christmas, which the family should know, or we'd go to Thanksgiving, and we had to leave within an hour and a half. At an hour, if the kid had his tops, and we were pushing it every second after that, and we didn't let it get to the point where they would see that outburst because we always tried to protect them and not ruin their time with the other kids or the other family members. We were trying to be respectful to not wreck their life. And we were always thinking this. And for them to say we kept them and we did this and that, and we didn't bring them around and stuff. Okay, because we couldn't. I just wish they could understand we couldn't. So I want them to know that we are sorry. We understand that as then they go into say that they didn't get to spend time with them, but it was like, oh, we would help you more and we would help him more, and don't you think that we can help him, and don't you think that we can help you? Well, I'm sure you could in certain ways, but I don't know how you would handle all the other stuff. Okay, so, and there's so many things, and I just want to go through a couple things, like since he was born, what we went through. First of all, we couldn't go in the grocery stores. He'd be real little. Okay, how do I start? He was working nights, and we would run out of formula, or, because it was so hard to be ahead of yourself. With all the stress with the autism, it was so hard to be ahead of yourself, so we'd run out of formula or something, and he needed the special one, Nutramigen, which was tons of money, and they only had it at, like, certain stores. So, first of all, I'd be walking up to the store. I kept trying. I'd be walking up to the store, and he would just fight his way out of my arms. He was really little, and he would lay down on the ground in the parking lot, in the middle of the grocery store, cars going through, or right in front of the door, and you couldn't pick him up. He'd be kicking and screaming so bad that you couldn't even get a grip on him or lift him and everything. The one day I was trying to go in there, and I kept trying to work our way into getting him to even go in a store. And one time I'm carrying him and on my side a little bit, but he took my head, our autistic son, and he just nailed my head back so bad that my neck hurt for weeks. So you had to pick your battles. You would try to just, go to the store and not bring the kid. It started like after like that, you had to, try to get it ahead of time so you're not stressing the kid out. Because what I would do is I'd try to go to the store. He would do that stuff and everything. I'd have to leave. And so half of the time he'd end up drinking apple juice. You weren't even supposed to give kids apple juice under like 6 months old or something. And I was giving it at like 3 months. Watering it down or doing whatever he had to do, and he wouldn't eat foods and everything, so it just was tough. So going into stores took forever, till I'm not sure what age. I think it was around 7. He didn't start talking till he was 6. I think it was around 7. I found a solution to where we could go into the Meijer. I think I was already telling you that. Go to the food court, order the fries, and maybe if we had both of us there, the other person could go get a couple things we needed and then come back, meet us at the food court, and then go pay real quick as he's screaming in line and all this, or take him out to the car. But we weren't always, both of us, me and my boyfriend, should be husband, I think I told you, I'll tell you about that later. It was due to getting help. We had to work different shifts, or we had to do opposite things. We could never do it together. So even as the kid was little, we couldn't even have a life together. So when it finally got into that we could at least go to the Meijer, and it's like you had to go down the toy section too to bribe him to even have him hold a toy or whatever, and then half of the time he wasn't even aware of it. Like he would grab 2 things or something to look at during the store and push the buttons, and then what ended up happening is like we would take one of the items and we would just like stick it back on the shelf, but then we would kind of like buy him one. It was so hard, and it was like you had to bribe your kid to keep it wasn't really bribery, it was keep his mind busy or something. you couldn't bring something from home. He was never interested in toys as a kid. He never played with toys. He had one little white car that was motorized. That was what he did like, but it didn't work in a store. You couldn't bring that toy. So, say for instance, the family would have get-togethers and stuff, and we tried to go to them, Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas and stuff. There was a lot of times where my boyfriend would take the kid to his mom's house, but the kid would only last like 45 minutes to an hour. When there was a couple other kids in the family, he might last a little longer, but um, you know, it was hard, and he always wanted to go back to his home to do what he's doing because autistic kids like sameness. They don't like change, and they can take it, for so long, and then they want to go home. So going on to, like, say, getting out in the environment. You have to work. Both of you have to work. You can't even afford autism. It costs so much money. But I would get through it with a couple of our friends when we lived in the trailer park. And one time we tried to go to Metro Beach, and we tried to go in the sprinkler systems. I drove with her. Either that or she drove with us. But that's another bad idea. Anytime you have an autistic kid, make sure you take your own car, because you're going to have to leave. So we went there to the sprinkler things, and he wouldn't even go in them. He wouldn't go by them, nothing. And so as her kids were going in the sprinklers and having such a good time, I had to go ahead and wreck it and say, we have to leave because he won't go in them. And they seen him. He's screaming and crying. And that was another instance. One time I had to take him to my brother's house, and I can't remember the situation, but I needed to go somewhere real quick. And it wasn't even going to take long, like an hour. And he stayed at my brother's house, and what he did was he stayed at the front picture window, and he cried and screamed the whole time, ripping at the curtains, kicking, until I came back and he was fine. Now, a lot of people will say, well, you have to try more, you have to get him out more, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to, and then the more he gets out, the more secure he'll be. Actually, it was different. The more he got out, the more stressed he was, and then it was worse. And I can't even explain, but the more you did, the more stress there was, and the more your days were crazy. It was crazy. And I tried to have my mom babysit a couple times, and not for long. You could never do it for long. And he started to get more comfortable with my mom because she would go way out of her way, and she'd give him constant attention. But I think another thing too that helped was my mom lived with us for a little while, right when he was about 2, and she had a computer, and he used to go on the computer all the time. So see, I think he got comfortable because he knew, grandma's computer and this and that, and he could play it, and it gave him a comfort thing. And what's so hard is that this is so crazy, but you can't tell other people, like, well, hey, to get him to come around more, buy him stuff, or pay total attention to him, or sit with them, or what, because there's other kids, there's other things that these people have to do. They can't just give all the attention to our autistic son. And there's some other things. He was really younger, and it went up to, he didn't sleep through the night till he was 10. Ever. He was up every 3 hours on the nose for 10 years. Basically, though, when he was little, every 3 hours on the nose to have bottles. And then, so he didn't sleep the night through he was 10. It gets so crazy. They couldn't put him on any medicines until basically he was 12. So pretty much he suffered all those years without any medicines, because any kind of medicines that would really work for him, it was too young. He was too young. They did put him on clonidine, which is supposed to lower your blood pressure, what helped a lot with helping a little bit with sleep, but not much. Maybe added on another hour or two. And Not until he was 12 when he started getting on the antipsychotics and the she's not until he was like 15 did he put on a mood stabilizer. So if you can see that through all these years, when we just started really getting into medicines at the age of like 12, he's 19 now. But then there was all these medicine changes for like 3-4 years to where they couldn't get the right one. And, finally we're on a few meds that actually help. The Geodon antipsychotic is one of the best ones. So our autistic son didn't talk till he was 6. He had about 6 words that he said at the age of 7 months. But back then what happened, before that, he was 2.5 months old. He got meningitis, bacterial meningitis, and also RSV. So he was in the hospital at 2.5 months old, and he was in there for 16 days. And then during those 16 days, he had 11 IVs put in. They kept falling out and everything. He was kind of like a hyper move around kid. And that put a lot of stress on him. After he came home from the hospital, he was jumping in his sleep. He was paranoid. He had nightmares. He would wake up in the shower. It was so scary because if you weren't up every second, he could hurt himself. He would end up under the tables, or he would never sleep in his own bed, never. He never even slept in a crib. He would sleep in a bouncy chair. I mean, this stuff goes on and on and on, and if you could the family just know the stress. I mean, they don't know all the details, because if you told them all the details, that's all you would be talking about is what you went through, and why do you want to burden the family with all this stuff? But then if you don't burden them, or you don't tell them, or they don't ask, they're not understanding, and that's what it's bringing it to, is all this family argument stuff. And it was never done on purpose. It was done to make the kid comfortable, so then you could get to the next step. A lot of times you teach normal kids something, they pretty much know it. You have to repeat it quite a bit of don't do that, don't do this, and they catch on, but not with an autistic kid. So now coming up to these days, back in 2016, it's right now it's May 31st of 2017, but in 2016 he had gotten put up to a higher classroom in his special education, to where they started going on outings. They started going on work outings, and what happened was they would have teachers and parapros, like 3 parapros, 1 teacher, or 2 parapros, depending. They have a bus driver with an aide on the bus, or they get together with the other class to where there's extra teachers too. Like if you have 2 classes, there would be 2 teachers, 6 parapros, 1 or 2 bus aides, and a driver. They have a lot of help. They even told me that they have special buttons in the classroom to where they could push it to get more help. Okay, do you think that we have that in the home? No, we have 2 people, and basically 1 is here at all times. The other might be working, so we always work opposite shifts and stuff. We don't have that kind of help. So now in this recent argument, when they're saying, the family's saying, well, don't you think we can help you? And don't you think that we can help him? Maybe you could now, because it's getting a little easier. And don't think it's all good, because I'm telling you what, now that he's bigger and stronger, I mean, this kid is so big. He is 6 foot tall. He is overweight. He is built big, strong. He's ripped our hair out. He's bit us, left marks. You should see. If I could have took pictures. I mean, you don't want to do that. It's been very tiring. And I mean, if you really try to look at my face, you could see the wrinkles, the stress, the everything. And then right now I don't even have a job, and he's on disability, and so is our son. And I mean, what am I supposed to do when I haven't had a career, because I was taking care of the kid all these years, and I was working nights delivering newspapers to, sometimes I could bring him with me, if he would go. You did what you did the best you could do it. You didn't mean to hurt anybody in the meantime, but now they are hurt. They're saying you can't make up for lost time. That's what the family's saying. I mean, that's the basic rule in life, is you can't. But I really think that these people in the family and the friends and stuff are just seeing it as like how normal things would go, and they really can't put their mind into, how it really is. And if they don't want to take the time to listen, and then a lot of times we don't want to wreck their time, if nobody communicates about it, which that's the biggest problem right now, a lack of communication. It's been that way for many years, and I want them to realize that they also, from their end, lack communication. We do from our end, and it's come to this point. And basically all my family, almost, everybody's passing away, but my mom just passed away recently, but then now it's going into his family. And how do you explain all this up until 2016, which is only a year ago, that he started opening up more? So in my next video, part 3, I'll tell you a little bit more, and we'll go from there. So thanks for watching. Be back soon. Bye.